mother with them and might even have been sexually abused herself, so be vigilant for any disclosures she may make. Oh yes, and she has nits, Jill added. This was common for children coming into care. I assume Melody won't be returning home? Highly unlikely. The social services intend to apply for a full care order, so she will remain in care. Sad though this was, in cases like these, there really was no alternative. It was too early to say if Melody would have the chance of being adopted, but aged 8 and with behavioural problems, it was unlikely. So, Cathy, Jill said, rounding off, that's it really. Neve, the social worker, will phone once she's left court, then she and a colleague will take a police officer to collect Melody from home and come to you. I'll try to be with you when she is placed. Thank you. Jill, as my supervising social worker, offered support and made sure I had all the information I needed and the correct placement forms were signed when a child was placed. See you later then, she said, and we said goodbye. Yes, it was a depressingly familiar story, which I was sure I'd heard before about many children brought into care. As it turned out, I couldn't have been more wrong. There was another side to Melody's story, which at this point no one knew. Chapter 2. Safe and Happy. Even after many years of fostering, I'm still slightly anxious before a new child arrives, wondering if they will like us and what I'll be able to do to help them. Now I had the added concern of Melody's angry and challenging behaviour. But by lunchtime, I'd given her bedroom a final check, cleaned, hoovered and tidied all the communal areas in the house. I might not have another chance for a while. Then I tried to concentrate on the part-time administration work I did mainly from home. As a single parent, my husband having run off with another woman some years before, the admin work plus the small allowance I received from fostering helped to make ends meet. I'd have fostered anyway, even without the allowance. I enjoyed it, and it had become a way of life. My 3 children, Adrian, aged 16, Lucy, 14, and Paula, 12, were at school, so they'd have a surprise when they arrived home to find Melody here, although it wouldn't be a huge one. Adrian and Paula had grown up with fostering, and new children could arrive at very short notice. Lucy had been in foster care herself before I'd adopted her, so was only too familiar with the way the system worked. I tell Lucy's story in my book, Will You Love Me? I had a sandwich lunch as I worked, and it was nearly 2 o'clock before the front doorbell rang, signalling Melody's arrival. I felt my pulse step up a beat as I left the paperwork on the table in the front room and went to answer the door. A female social worker I took to be Neve stood on one side of Melody and a male social worker was on the other, as if escorting her. "Hello, you must be Melody," I said with a smile. "Come in, I'm Cathy." Melody glared at me but didn't move. "This is the foster carer I told you about," Neve said, and touched Melody's arm to encourage her to move forward. "Get your hands off me!" Melody snapped, angrily shrugging her off, but she did come in. "I'm Neve, and this is my colleague Jim," Neve said as they too came in. Jim shook my hand. I guessed both social workers were in their early 40s and were dressed smartly in dark colours, having come straight from court. "Shall I take your coats?" I offered, but Neve was already halfway down the hall, looking to see which room she should go in. "Straight ahead," I called. Jim took off his coat and also his shoes, which he paired with ours beneath the hall stand. "Would you like to take off your coat and shoes?" I asked Melody, who was still standing beside us and hadn't followed her social worker into the living room. She looked at me as though I was completely balmy, probably having never taken off her shoes and coat as part of the routine for entering her home. "We usually do," I added. Melody was of average height and build, but her pale skin was grubby. There were dark rings under her eyes from lack of sleep, and her brown, shoulder-length hair was unwashed and matted. I already knew she had nits, and I would treat those later. Her zip-up anorak was filthy. A long rip down one sleeve showed the white lining, and the zipper was undone and hanging off. Beneath her jacket she was wearing a badly stained jumper and short skirt. The skirt and ankle socks she wore were